Hello, and welcome to episode 7 in my Comprehending Consciousness series. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about non-duality. If you haven't watched previous episodes, I highly suggest at least watching 5 and 6 on the matrix and duality, because I'm not going to go over that whole thing in this video here. And if you haven't watched those or you're unfamiliar with those terms, I really highly suggest watching those, the 2 previous episodes to this one, because they really are a build-up to understanding what we mean when we say non-duality. This has become a really big new concept in the conscious community, in the New Age kind of world, and I see a lot, especially on YouTube, these kind of spiritual YouTubers, and so many of them talking about non-duality and what it means, right? It's beautiful. It's a new horizon for a lot of humanity, right? A lot of us have been on this awakening path for a while, and so we've had time to ruminate over duality and really pick through it and come to that higher view that I was talking about in the previous episode about understanding duality is comparison. It's merely a method of measurement to compare something to other things. And so when we're making comparisons, right, of something, it's important to understand the role of the observer in that, right? The fact that the observer who's doing the comparing sets the parameters of the entire purpose, the entire ultimate meaning, because you can't decide to compare something and set a spectrum of, say, good and evil without first having that knowledge base, right? And without having other experiences, energies, whatever, to compare it to. And so that's the catch-22, right? And that's the whole purpose, sort of, or what I see as, the purpose of the plane, the Earth School that we're in here, this kind of three-dimensional, third density, fourth density learning structure of whatever type, that it is. Duality runs the show. We're learning through contrast to seek a harmonious balance in between, right? And that happens on a spectrum of varieties in this plane. It's a tool that we're handed when we come to this place. Duality. Here. Compare. Decide for yourself, And so when we talk about non-duality, that is the concept or idea of what it means to not have to compare things. Now, it's a very wonky, woo-woo kind of, it's a metaphysical concept. It's not meant to be material. It's not solid. It's not third dimensional, okay? And so it takes us as beings, as energetic beings, quite some time in working through the solidity of 3D with our thought energy and our hearts and our emotions and our energetic body and our spirit to place all the pieces together and realize that our physical material experience here isn't just the end-all be-all. It is not all that there is. And once you can get through that working and your conscious awareness is expanding and you're starting to really understand that, then becomes the challenge, the process, the practice of imagining the spectrum as the whole picture. seeing the yin yang sign, right? The white and the black in there spinning and circling and engulfing itself and doing the work contained within that circle, right? And that circle is non-duality. It's never ending. The Ouroboros, the snake that eats its tail, you know, the corona, the crown, the logos, the cycle. That is the knowing. That's all the knowing is. People think, and maybe I'm just not there yet, you know, and maybe there is a greater truth and knowledge to this. But for me, for now, for the growth that I've had and for what I can see, is that faith-based knowing that there's a circle encompassing the whole thing. And that circle is of highest, best good. The most loving, unconditional, original, untainted love you can imagine is what that container is made of. So once, non-duality is, just like I said in all these other videos, iceberg terms here, right? I'm putting our stake in the ground here, calling this area non-duality, but it's for you to survey and to understand and to make your own map and make your own definitions. And like I said in the original, maybe the first video, you know, it's up to you to put your diving gear on and jump off the iceberg and go and do the swimming, do the diving, do the excavations and the explorations that intrigue you and that spark your imagination, because your own path discovery, your own movie, you know, that you're in, the star of your show here, it is the ultimate blockbuster. It's the most popular video to you. It is the best movie ever created, you know, you're the star of it. And so when we're talking about non-duality, you know, it's kind of accepting that metaphor of you being the star of your show, and now imagining that who the producer is, right? Who the director is, who was the cast caller, you know? There are those roles. There are still those entities of assigning things happening somewhere out there, right? And when we start to step out of just the parameters of this one lifetime here on Earth or whatever, even if you're not a fan of reincarnation, you don't need to be. It's not a parameter that has to do with duality or non-duality or the God or source or creator or whatever. Non-duality can be that acceptance of unknowing. Knowing the unknown. You know, faith-based knowing tells you there's a container to this. Logic, right? Analytical thought processing that we use here in the third dimensional realm is a mirrored version of something, because as above, so below. The fact that everything's comparisons, the fact that you have a lifetime here, to me, is confirmation of a higher organization. And when I see confirmation of higher organization in measurements like duality, in things like cyclic seasons and tides in time, in how, you know, nature grows and how everything seems to flow, right, organically, it's, to me, ultimate confirmation that there's mass organization happening. And that organization is only purposeful, it only has a use, it's only created, defined, and used by something larger looking at something outside of itself. Right? And so that really, to me, puts a stamp on source, creator, infinite intelligence, God, whatever you choose to see it as. I really don't believe it's man in the sky, or those kind of man-made visions of it, or religion or anything. As I talked about in duality, I really feel that that type of God, the man-made image of God, or the concept of him, is a pin staked down in that duality spectrum of comparison of good and evil, for us to teach us the scope, to teach us the lessons within that, and to help us better find our true harmonious middle ground in there, to make more wise decisions, right? To use our energy bodies in a helpful, radiant way, instead of in a harmful, negative, sucking, literally sucking kind of way, like a bringing in of energy, but literally also they do suck. So, but yet again, that is placing everything on the scope of duality. And here it's so ingrained in us, it's so automatic and innate that we see things through this way, that it really kind of feels unnatural at first to try to step back outside of it. But as you do inner work, and as you gain more knowledge about the intricate layers, the multidimensionality of this world, and of your own body, of your own experience here, you really start to understand that the material physical plane, it is not everything, and it by no means is calling the shots. The physical, material, solid plane is defined before it comes into creation. It is in the imagination space, it is in the conscious collective, it is in the higher densities up there in higher light, in order to frame and cast shadows and come down, manifested into third dimensional reality and into a hard form of mass. And so, non-duality can be a very hard concept. It took me a long time, and I'm still working on it, getting there and understanding it. Duality in itself is much easier as a starting point. And also, this is why I've said, watch the other episodes and ruminate on those things more before you try to take on this idea, because it can just go right over or through you. And it did for me for many years, It took my own inner working to sort through things to come, to a more openness and a more understanding, and a comfort and acceptance of not knowing, because that really is kind of what duality, to me, is about. And when we say we want to live like a non-dualistic life, or embody the creator mindset, it really is that ultimate observer. It really is the stepping back and out of to view. And it's a difficult thing to do, especially if you're new to meditation, you're new to sitting with yourself, you're new to introspection, inner work, all these kind of things, do and focus on that. Always, 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 always. Back to the self. Focus on in here first, where your confusions are, and trace those back, because that's your leading path into higher knowledge, All roads lead to Rome, as they say, and that, is beautiful wisdom, because all roads lead back to source, to truth, to the oneness. We are all on a trip back to oneness. And you know what? Everybody's path is unique to themselves. And that's the beauty of it. And that understanding, that comfort, comes with exploring non-duality. And so I hope that this information has been helpful to you. Like I said, I try to keep these videos between 10 and 15 minutes, just to give, quick little slice of the pie of what it means to me to represent or think about non-duality. And so I hope you'll join me next time in episode number 8, I believe. I'm in 8 now. Oh my goodness. And we are going to be talking about a little bit more of a difficult topic, back into the spectrum of duality and stepping into the matrix space. We're going to talk about the archons, the negative orientation, the dark side, the evil, the devil. All of these figments of our imagination, all of these comparative measures that we've scapegoated and we cast into the side of negative orientation. And to just dig into that a little bit and give some definitions about those things. But I really want to, I chose this lineage for a specific reason to hopefully help walk and hold hands through these really difficult, really thick topics, because there is so much work and introspection, weeks, months, years of time that can be spent just in comprehending what the matrix structure of 3D, the 3D inorganic matrix structure is, versus our organic, beautiful matrix of Mother Earth intended for this space. And then, the concept of duality and what that means and how that works our space and how that hones and tones the melodies and harmonies of what's happening in the matrix, right? And then understanding the song as a total and the vision as a total here in non-duality that we're talking about now, the appreciation of the entirety, understanding that the outside of that is the observer with some sort of purpose. And now when you can grasp creator mindset, when you can fit your sovereign fractal of source into the mosaic and understand the big picture and comprehend non-duality, then you're powered up, you're charged, and you're ready to take a look and a deeper dive into the negative side, the dark side, and the archons and all of that. We'll get into next time. So I hope you'll join me for that, and I hope this episode on non-duality has been enlightening, maybe changed your perspective or gave you a couple new tidbits to just look at and listen and let percolate in there. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you are looking for more in the meantime, totally find me on amariespeaks.com or over on Telegram if you use that. I'm over there on Amarie Speaks as well. Yeah. So until next time, I hope you'll contemplate the idea of non-duality and the creator mindset.